Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to learn a fundamental concept in bash scripting, the if statement. This is a crucial building block for making decisions in your script based on certain conditions. An if statement in bash scripting allows your script to evaluate a condition and execute specific code blocks based on whether this condition is true or false. So first let me show you the basic syntax of the if statement. So I am currently in this directory tutorial 5. Now I am going to create a script file using Vim. So this is the basic structure of a if statement. So here we have the keyword if that marks the beginning of the if statement. Then in the condition block, you specify the condition that you want to evaluate. And don't forget to put square brackets around these conditions. So now if the condition is true, the commands within the then block will be executed. If it is false, then the script skips these commands. At last, the keyword phi marks the end of the if statement. This is actually the reverse of if. So this is the basic syntax of the if statement. Now let's come to the condition block. Conditions can be formed using various operators. Like there are comparison operators that compares the values for equality, inequality, or of the power of certain orders. Then there is logical operators that combine conditions to form more complex logic. And there is file checking operators, checking file existence, regular files or directories. So now let's write a basic script to check if the user input is yes or not. So in this code, the first line is the shebang line. Then we have some comments. Then the next line uses the read command to take input from the user. Here you use -p to prompt a message that will be displayed to the user before they enter their input. In this case, the script asks the user to enter yes or no. And the user input will be stored in a variable called response. Then if statement checks a condition whether the value of this variable response is yes or not and executes the code block following the then keyword only if the condition is true, and phi indicates the end of the if statement. So now let's save this script and make this script executable and let's run it. So it prompts a message, enter your response. So now let's enter yes. So whenever I entered yes, this yes is stored in this variable response, and this if condition checks if the value of the response is equals to yes. And if this condition satisfy, then it prints this message, you entered yes, and the program will be installed. Now let's see what will happen if we enter something else than yes. So if we enter no, then it will print nothing. So now let's add an else statement to handle cases where the response is not yes, maybe it's no. So let's modify the code and then I will explain. So this is the modified script. If the response is not yes, say it's no, it will print you did not enter yes, goodbye. So now let's run the script. Now first let's enter yes. So it prints you entered yes and the program will be installed. Now let's enter no. So whenever I entered no, it prints you didn't enter yes, goodbye. But you can enter anything else. Let's say maybe. Then it will also print you did not enter yes, goodbye. So this script just checks if the response is yes or not through this condition. If this condition is true, then it will execute this block. Anything else you enter rather than yes, it will execute this block. Now what if we want to check for both yes and no responses? That's where elif comes in handy. Elif stands for else if. Let's see how to use it. So let's modify the code a little bit. So this code checks whether the user input is yes or no. And based on the response from the user, it executes some commands. So if the response is yes, it will print you entered yes and the program will be installed. And if the response is no, then it will print you entered no and the program will not be installed. And if you enter anything else other than yes or no, it will print you did not enter yes or no. So let's modify it little bit. Yes or no, goodbye. So now let's run the script. So first let's enter yes. So it prints you entered yes and the program will be installed. Now let's say enter no. So you enter no and the program will not be installed. And if we enter anything else, maybe say, then it prints you did not enter yes or no, goodbye. Now, there is also an alternative syntax for if statement using the test command. For instance, the same script can be written as like this. So this is the modified script. So here I just only delete those square braces and here I put test. Those square braces actually the shorthand notation for this test. So this script will also perform in the same way. Only the new thing is in this version, this state command will check the conditions and produce the output. So let's check it. So first, let's first enter yes and then say no and then say maybe. Sorry. So both the scripts producing the same output. So now let's write another more practical script to check if a file or directory of specific name exists or not. So let me write the script first, then I will explain. And for this, I am going to create another script file with name test.sh in the same directory. And remember, I already have this script file named if.sh. So let's vi and then test.sh. So in this script, at first we have the if statement that checks if a file exists or not and whether this file is a regular file. For this purpose, we used -f flag to check whether the file is a regular file. If the condition is true, then the commands inside the then block are executed. That is, it will print file exists. If the file doesn't exist, the script moves to the elif statement to check another condition whether it is a directory or not. This D flag is used to check for the existence of a directory. If this condition is true, the command inside the then block are executed. That is, it will print directory exists. If neither the file nor the directory exists, then the else block is executed. This else block doesn't have a condition. It runs if all previous conditions are false. In this block, the script prints neither the file nor the directory exists. And lastly, we have the file keyword that marks the end of the if statement. So now let's run it. So it prints file exists as there is this file already exists if.sh. So it satisfies the first condition. Yes, this file exists. That's why it prints file exists. Now let's remove this file and let's make another directory named if. So to create a directory, I am using this command mkdir and then let's name it if. Now again, let's run this script. So now it prints directory exists because now we don't have the if.sh file, but instead we have this directory if. So that's it for today's tutorial on if statement in bash scripting. We have covered the basics, how to handle multiple conditions. With these tools, you can start creating more dynamic and responsive scripts. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to like, subscribe and hit the notification bell for more programming tutorials. Thanks for watching and happy scripting.